Hey guys, my name is Akila. If you're new here, welcome, and if you've been here before, welcome back. Today, as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be giving you guys 8 tips on how to grow healthy, strong, long, natural hair. I did do 2 videos on this topic before on my channel, but I just feel like the more I learn is the more I just feel like I need to share with you guys. So this is an updated version of those 2 videos. And I have so many tips that I've picked up along the way, things that I've been doing on my hair journey. I can be here all day until like tomorrow this time giving you guys tips, but I'm narrowing this video down to the 8 tips that I feel are the most important of them all. I'm going to leave some extra tips for you guys in the description below, so check those out after the video. I'm going to insert a clip now of my most recent wash day just so you guys can get a reference of kind of like what my hair looks like, how long it is before I start. So this is that video now. Also, lately I've noticed crazy hair growth, which is crazy because I always have my hair curly and I look at my hair every single day, so it's kind of hard for me to know how long my hair is growing. I know that it is growing, but it's kind of hard for me to see it because I, like I said, see my hair every day and it's always curly. Maybe if I go to my stylist and I haven't seen her in like a month or 2, she's gonna notice a difference from the last time she saw it. But me seeing my hair every day, I don't really notice much of a difference in length. But lately I've noticed crazy hair growth, and not just that, but stronger, thicker, fuller, just overall healthier hair. And I've tweaked a couple things in my routines, so towards the end of the video I'm going to tell you guys exactly what I've been doing lately to bring about those results. So let's get into tip number 1, and that is to understand your hair's porosity level. Once you understand your hair's porosity, whether it's low, medium, or high porosity, that gives you a better understanding of your hair's characteristics, a better understanding of your hair needs and concerns, which gives you a better understanding of the products that you need to be using. I've never been a fan of just going off of products that other people recommend, because even though we're all on a hair journey, we're all on our individual journeys, and something that works for somebody else may not be addressing your specific hair needs. So you really need to understand your hair a lot better, your hair type and your hair porosity, which is going to help you a lot. Now, there are a couple hair porosity tests, and the most common one I think is if you put a couple of strands of your hair inside a glass of water. You can get the hair out of your brush or something, you don't have to like rip it out of your scalp, but if you put a couple of pieces of hair in a glass of water and just leave it for a few minutes and see how your hair reacts to the water, if it floats down to the bottom, you have high porosity hair, and if it floats at the top, you have low porosity hair, and if it's somewhere in the middle, you have medium porosity hair. Once you figure that out, that's half the battle right there. Then you figure out the products that you need, and not just the products, but how exactly you apply those products. So that is a key step, understanding your own hair. And honestly, if you're just paying attention to your hair, like I've never done a hair porosity test, but I know that my hair doesn't retain water well. So like my hair is going to sink to the bottom because it's going to absorb that water, but it's not going to retain that water. I just know that just by paying attention to my hair. So I think that if you pay attention to yours as well, you will know your hair's porosity. And like I said, that is the first tip, because on our own individual hair journeys, we need to understand what our hair is specifically needing and how to address those specific needs. So that is my tip number 1, understand your hair's porosity level. My tip number 2 is to focus on moisture and hydration. This was a major key in my other 2 hair growth videos, because for me, moisture retention directly relates to length retention. Dry, brittle hair is not going to grow. I say that in just about every video that I possibly can. Dry, brittle hair is not going to grow. So you always want to make sure that your hair is nice and moisturized. Me, I do the LOC method, which is leave-in conditioner, oil, and cream or butter, and I have to do that every other day. That's just what my hair needs, because although it absorbs moisture well, it doesn't retain moisture well. So my hair is going to be dry. Even after I do that full routine, it's going to be dry. So I'm still trying to figure out ways to maximize my moisture retention so that I don't have to do those routines as often. But for now, on average, I moisturize my hair at least 2 to 3 times every single week. And when I first started growing my hair and first started seeing results, and everyone around me started seeing results as well, they would always ask me, Akila, what do you do? And at the time, that is really all I did. I just moisturized my hair a lot. And that is the advice that I gave them, and that's the advice that I'm going to give you. So you can't moisturize your hair once every 2 weeks or once a month and expect to see the results that you want to see. It's just not going to happen. It's kind of like going to the gym. You can't go to the gym once in a blue moon and expect to see the results you want to see in your body. Same goes for your hair. You have to moisturize your hair as often as your hair calls for it to be, and you have to stick to that routine. As daunting as it is, as much as you may dread those days, the way I dread moisturizing it and the way I dread wash days, it just needs to be done. So tip number 2 is to constantly make sure your hair is hydrated and nice and moisturized. Tip number 3 is to deep condition your hair weekly. This kind of goes hand in hand with tip number 2 because it just adds into the moisture retention. When you regularly condition your hair, that's always good, especially on wash days. But the deep condition, when you put the cap on it and leave it to sit for at least 10 minutes, that's going to give it that extra oomph of moisture and that lasting moisture. And also it ties into tip number 1, which was about the hair porosity, because different hair porosities require different processes. And with deep conditioning, if you have high porosity hair like me, all you need is the cap and you're good to go. Heat is optional. But if you have low porosity hair, you definitely want to add heat to that deep conditioning process. I did a video recently where I took a deep dive and broke everything down as far as the 3 levels of hair porosity, all of the characteristics and the do's and don'ts for each level. So if you want to check that video out, you can. If you want to do your own deep dive and do further research, the internet is your oyster. The world is your oyster. Y'all know what I mean. If you want to do your own deep dive, you can look it up and see what different methods work for your different hair porosity levels. But as far as deep conditioning, I recommend you do it at least once a week or as often as possible. So that is my tip number 3, deep condition weekly. My tip number 4 in growing healthy, strong, long, natural hair is to trim your hair as needed. In one of my other videos, this was a real big topic in the comment section because I said then, and I'm going to say now, I don't follow a trim schedule, and I don't recommend for you to follow a trim schedule, because I feel like when you do that, you have a tendency to over trim your hair, especially if you have a scissor happy stylist. You know, those that don't trim but they cut, you know, they chop. And I just feel like if you follow a trim schedule of every, I don't know what you guys do, 6 weeks or 8 weeks, once that time comes, if you don't need a trim, I don't recommend you get a trim. So don't stick to a rigid trim schedule. Don't get me wrong, trims are very, very, very important, because if you see those videos of those girls that sit in the chair when they get their silk press, and you see nice long healthy hair, thick full hair down to a certain length, and then right around the shoulder or maybe a little under the shoulder it starts getting stringy and see-through, that means that they're not trimming often enough. So I'm not here to tell you not to get trimmed. I get trimmed, but I'm just saying don't stick to a rigid trim schedule. Me personally, I schedule one deep trim every year when I do my silk presses, usually around the fall time, because my hair responds to moisture. If it's too humid like it is in the summer, especially in New York City, I can't get a silk press. In the spring, I can't get a silk press. There's so much moisture in the air. So I normally wait till around the fall time when the air is a little crisper and cooler, and I get my silk press and my trim each fall. Now, throughout the year, I get little dust up trims. Like my trim each fall is when she does the trim going across, and then she'll take her time and like do that cut up thing that they normally do, and she'll spend a few minutes really giving me a deep, accurate trim. But throughout the year, I get smaller trims. Like if I'm just seeing a little split end or two, I definitely nip that in the bud, because split ends, if you think of one healthy hair strand, and you think of a split end in that hair strand, that split end is going to rise and it's going to cause weaker, damaged hair. So you definitely want to trim that and nip it in the bud, and that is what I do throughout the year. But I really get one deep full trim a year. Maybe I'll go to 2 a year every 6 months, I'm not sure, but that rigid schedule of every 6 to 8 weeks, if that's what your hair needs, then that's what you do. So that's my tip number 4. Trim your hair as needed so that you don't over trim your hair, but definitely pay attention to your. My tip number 5 is to massage oils into your scalp. It's not enough to just apply the oil to your scalp. You definitely want to work it in with a nice massage, because that is going to get the blood flow circulating and it's going to stimulate growth. You can use your fingers, that's what I do, or I do have an electric massage that feels so good. And there's a bunch of other handheld massages that you can use too, but for the most part your fingers work just fine. For me, I massage my scalp as a pastime. If I'm busy and I'm hands-free, I don't even need to be busy. If I'm watching TV or reading a book, as long as my hands are free or listening to music or whatever, I'm going to be massaging my scalp. That's a nice, easy way to make sure that your hair is actually growing from the scalp. Yeah, massage oils into your scalp, because you don't want to just make sure your hair is moisturized. You want to make sure your scalp is nice and moisturized as well, and definitely work it in with the massage. So that is my tip number 5. Tip number 6 is to utilize low manipulation hairstyles and accessories, and to also be gentle with your hair. It goes hand in hand. And when I say low manipulation hairstyles, that means if you have a protective style in your hair and you are styling that protective style, whether it be braids, faux locks, twists, whatever it is, definitely make sure that you're not pulling and tugging on your hair, especially on your edges. Nowhere in your hair should be pulling and tugging. And also your ponytails and your buns should not be too tight, because that is also causing unnecessary tension on the hair. Low manipulation accessories could be switching to those satin soft scrunchies instead of the normal ones, or using claw clips instead of scrunchies altogether. And as far as being gentle with your hair, I'm really talking about your detangling process. You always want to moisturize your hair just a little bit, even if it's just with water. You definitely want to do that. You never want to detangle dry hair. Once again, that's going to cause unnecessary breakage, unnecessary tension. Also, be careful when you're taking out your protective styles. Be gentle in that process as well. Even if you have like rubber bands, or how you're taking out your scrunchies, you don't want to just pull them out of the ponytail. You definitely want to unravel them the way you put it in. Just do that in reverse. And this is what I mean by being gentle on your hair, because every little bit counts. We want to protect our hair. We want to take care of our hair. So you definitely want to keep it low manipulation to avoid any breakage and tension. And you always want to be gentle with your hair. My tip number 7 is to pay attention to your nutrition. Hydration starts from within, so definitely you want to drink lots more water than you have been drinking. We can all use a little bit more water. And then also, we as women, I know that we probably have some men watching this video too. Men are on a hair growth journey as well, but for the most part, we women, we have a lot of hormones going through our bodies, and for some of us, we have a lot of hormone imbalances, and you would be very surprised at how some of the foods, the processed foods, the alcohol would aid into those hormone imbalances, some of which can affect our hair. So if we are on a full wellness journey, not just a hair journey, which we should all be on, then you know everything in the body is connected, including our hair. So as we're on a hair journey, we also want to take care of our bodies. Definitely want to have a balanced diet. Definitely want to increase your water intake and just balance out our hormones just a little bit, and we can see positive effects of that on our hair as well. So that is my tip number 7. Pay attention to your nutrition and have a proper balanced diet and increase your water intake. Tip number 8 is to simply stay patient. For a lot of people, this is the hardest tip, but simply put, it is the easiest tip. It is to stay patient because hair growth is not an overnight journey. While your hair constantly is growing, you're not going to go from shoulder length to waist length overnight. And if you're looking for me to promote some magic pill or some magic formula, I'm so sorry to disappoint you because I don't have one. If I had one, trust me, I would use it and I would share it with you, but I just don't have it. The only formula that I know that has gotten me results is consistency and time. Stick with the right products, stick with your routines, stick with your trims, and stick with the overall tips that's gonna give your hair the proper health and the proper chance to actually grow. Stick with that and give it time. That is my tip number 8. Be patient with your hair. Be patient with yourself. Be patient. So I mentioned to you guys earlier that I've seen crazy hair growth over the last, I would say, month and a half with my hair. I've done a couple things differently, like tweaked a couple things, added in a few products. So I don't really know exactly what I can attribute to the hair growth, and not just hair growth, but like the overall health, thickness, fullness, all of that. I've seen great improvements over the last few weeks. I don't know if it's just one thing or if it's a combination of things, but what I started doing differently was I started using rosemary water. I did a video on how I make it, what I use, how I store it, how I apply it, and I basically do that every time I'm doing my moisturizing routine. So after wash day is finished, when I wash out the conditioner, I add the rosemary water before I set my hair. And whenever I'm refreshing my moisture every 2-3 days out of the week, like I mentioned earlier in this video, I'm also using the rosemary water. So you can check that video out if you want. The second thing that I do differently is I use the LOC method on wash days and moisturizing days. Before, I was using the LCO method. And this is why I mentioned earlier, tip number 1 was to understand your hair's porosity level, because I have high porosity hair, and based on the research that I did for high porosity hair, the LOC method is better than the LCO method. So I had to make that little switch. And then the last thing that I did was I started deep conditioning every single week. I don't have a full wash day every single week, but even if I'm not adding shampoo, if it's just a cold wash day, or if I'm just fully saturating my hair in water just to do the deep conditioning, I'm doing that every week, every Sunday to be exact. So those are the 3 things that I started doing differently. I started applying rosemary water, which I apply often because I moisturize my hair often. I do the LOC method because that is what my hair porosity level calls for, and I deep condition weekly. I've seen crazy improvements. Even when I did the wash day from the clip that I showed you guys earlier in this video, when I was brushing out my hair in the shower, I've honestly never seen my hair look like that before. So those are the 3 things that I did. I hope that helps you in your hair journey. And as always, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you guys learned something. If there's anything that I missed, if you have any tips that you know that I missed in this video, please let us all know in the comment section. Again, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I will see you in my next one. Bye.